Everyone thinks living in a van is cheap until the winter hits. So let's break down exactly what it costs in the UK to live in a van. Winter van life does hit differently, but it doesn't have to be scary. It just means being more prepared if you're considering living in a van, because everything goes up when the temperature drops. For me, it's diesel heating money, paying for campsites, charging up the EcoFlow whenever possible, a lot more coffee, which is basically winter tax, more food, more hot drinks to keep warm, because let's face it, trying to keep warm costs money. So let's get in the wall. So in this video, I'm going to be totally real and transparent about how much van life actually costs me. And I'm not going to skip the winter part just because it's not cute. Winter is real, and when you experience winter, it feels really real. I swear in the summer it becomes like this distant memory, and then you're like, bloody hell, I don't remember it being as bad as this. I mean, mostly the cold, but yeah, winter. So let's talk real numbers, because van life isn't just cute coffee shops with a view and twinkly fairy lights. Let me just make my coffee and then we'll jump straight into exactly what it cost me to live in a van, the winter edition. Cheers. So my fixed monthly stuff looks like this. Van insurance, £150 a month. Breakdown, I use RAC, £12 a month. Road tax, £40. My phone, which is just a SIM only for 30 gig, nothing special, £10. My unlimited data for my Wi-Fi router is £25. I need to find a better deal on that. Netflix, thankfully I'm on my mum's spare account. Thanks, Mum. Amazon Prime, also not my bill. Thanks, Adam. So fixed bills are what they are, but this is where winter gets spicy. So food-wise, in the summer, we can usually stick around £80 a week. That's for 2 adults and a dog. But in the winter, we always go over budget, and it usually ends up being like £120 a week. Partly because you eat more, partly because comfort food exists, and partly because coffee becomes a survival mechanism. Heating is a whole other cost. We're at the point of the year now where we've basically got the diesel heater on all day, so £10 to £15 a week on heating alone.
Hey! Heating! We got the heating going on.
Heating. I'm sat in my coat all day. I personally don't run my engine to charge my batteries because my van being very old, I can only have a certain alternator, which means my DC to DC charger is it 20 amps or 30 amps? Either way, on a 460 amp hour lithium battery, it takes ages to charge, and in the process, it ends up just making my engine battery flat. So DC to C, that's hard to say. DC to DC charger is a little bit obsolete in this van, but as this is something that a lot of people use, this is something for you to consider going into van life. Fuel is relative to how much you travel and how efficient your vehicle is, but just for reference, mine does about 25 to 30 miles per gallon. Cost me about £90 for a full tank, and I could probably do around 250 to 300 miles on that. From experience, I think I went up north, did 400 miles, and it was a tank and a half. Once. Also, parking isn't cheap, and you also can't park up at 10 PM like you would in the summer. Well, you might. I'm in bed. So if you get into places for the night earlier, you might miss the window where there's free parking. Just something else to consider. Power is a big winter issue. My EcoFlow will last me one full day. With my setup, I have both 12 volt and 240, and my leisure battery will last me 5 to 6 days. Obviously this is all dependent on how much sun we're getting, but winter, there ain't much of it, is there? Not much. Not much sun to be seen. As I'm on a campsite and there's sun, typical. So yeah, we usually end up on a campsite once a week, and we don't pay more than £20 a night. We've got a couple of sites on rotation, and that keeps us sweet. That also gives us a top up of water and a nice little reset. When we aren't using campsites, we use Spotless Water, and I usually spend about £5 a week on Spotless Water. If you don't know what that is, then I will leave a link to a video I've done on Spotless Water, and also my referral code in the description. This isn't sponsored, everybody gets a referral code, just one of those things, isn't it? A gas bottle can be another seasonal expense. I have a 15 kg gas bottle that fuels just my stove, which we do all our cooking on. I do find it to last about 6 months on the nicer half of the year, and when the weather starts changing, it will last about 5 months at a push. Nothing huge in it, but I do have to change it sooner. Probably just down to more home cooked hot meals, and probably the kettle being on more coffee, man. Dangerous. The last gas bottle I bought was roughly £61. Then you've got laundry. Winter clothes are thicker, blankets, dressing gowns, jumpers. Basically, everything's going to take longer to dry, therefore more money on tumble dryers. You don't really have the luxury of shorts and t-shirts which dry in like 10 minutes, or even hanging them outside. So yes, that is another factor to consider if you are living on a budget. I hate laundry, and once again I let it get totally out of control. On average, I spend £25 to £30 on laundry every 2 weeks, and I am just doing my own stuff, blankets that we use, and dog stuff. Adam still gets mum and dad privileges, so yeah, I just do me. I just sort myself out and Willow. And then you've got like random winter stuff. You might jet wash the van more because it's going to get muckier because of the mud and all that stuff. You've got to top up your screen washer, it doesn't freeze. You might even start some subscriptions that you avoided in the summer due to cabin fever, because it is real and it's amplified in the winter, isn't it? Like, shorter days, rain, crappy weather, you're in your van more. And then you've got December. December creeps in quick, doesn't it? Comes around in no time. So presents, Christmas food, and yes, Christmas decorations, because I am that person.
I got a Christmas tree! How cute!
Obviously, just something to consider in your budget if you love that kind of thing, like me. And let's talk about the thing that most people don't talk about, which is a contingency fund. Things will break, things will leak, things will rattle. Living in a van is basically taking your home through a hurricane every time you drive. When I first moved into my van, I had a £500 contingency fund, and that basically vanished within the first month. So if you are thinking of doing van life, then please do budget for breakdowns, mechanical stuff, leaks, because it will happen and you will thank yourself for it later. And while we're on the same track, mechanical issues are a big one too. MOT, tyres, brake pads, bearings, list is endless, isn't it? Living in your vehicle will increase the wear and tear more than it would if you lived in a house and just drove your vehicle to work. You're using it more. And I swear, right, it's probably not just me, but something breaks in this van like every week, at least once a week, if not more. I mean, you probably feel my pain. Also, you've got the small stuff that adds up. Zip ties, tape. Van lifers love tape. Fuses, bulbs, batteries, fairy lights. Van life basically turns you into a hardware store on wheels. I've probably forgotten a fair bit because trying to remember everything is a challenge in itself. So if you live in a van, drop in the comments anything you think I've missed or anything that you think will help someone considering moving into a van. Let's just share the chaos. Okay, so let's talk money. The part that nobody wants to talk about, but everyone needs to hear. Van life can be cheap, but in the winter, it definitely goes up. Heating goes on more, you probably eat more without even realising, and everything just costs more. So if you're thinking of doing van life, then you do need to be prepared for the winter version too, and not just the dreamy Instagram version. I'm not gonna lie, this is where I got caught out when I moved into a van. I thought it was going to be a lot easier than it was perceived online. Okay, so my grand total, if you haven't already worked it out yet, I'm gonna have to do some maths. Oh, don't math me. Okay, so I've wrote it down and mathed. Right, so here's my grand total for the summer. Living in a van costs me £812 per month. Now here's the winter version. Living in a van in the winter months costs me approximately 1,000. I can't even read my own writing. £1,064 per month. So winter roughly adds £250 on top of everything else every single month. It's winter. And that is not including those random van repairs that, trust me, will happen. So living in a van absolutely can be affordable, but it's not 24/7 sunsets and seaside views. It is real life. There are just bills on wheels. And to be totally real and honest with you, I wasn't expecting this way of life to cost so much when I moved into this van 2 years ago. Everyone shows you sunsets and the freedom, but behind the scenes there is definitely some sacrifices and sometimes going without just so you can cover the essentials. But even with all that, I am still so grateful that I get to live in this, and for just the home and wheels that I do have. This little van has carried me through so much. And honestly, if this is what it costs to live in a van, I definitely don't stand a chance living in a house. And like I said, if there is anything that you think I've forgotten, then do leave it in the comments below, because it might just help someone out. There is always a surprise van life expenses that people don't consider. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a like, comment, subscribe, the bell, all that good stuff, and stay groovy. See you soon. Bye. It's like crazy sunny today, and I'm talking about winter. It is freezing though. The diesel heater is blasting. That's why I got the mic, you see. I'm trying to be more pro for you. Mic, I don't know. Bye.